News outlets have been pumping out articles on why people should be boycotting Final Fantasy XVI. Its alleged lack of diversity and failure of female characters have been the primary reasons, but now articles are coming out saying the fact that it's got slavery is a deal breaker and how it sets the franchise back. I have a few different things that I want to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted, and of course if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or a supporter via YouTube membership. Now, over the past few days, I have had to talk about several news outlets trying to cancel Final Fantasy XVI, trying to almost convince people to boycott it and refuse to purchase it, which is honestly pathetic. But now The Gamer has put out an article saying we need to talk about slavery in Final Fantasy XVI. It says slavery is bad. I don't think that's a hard conclusion to draw. Throughout history, we have witnessed the most bigoted and fascist regimes on the planet use slavery as a means to eradicate or diminish racial groups, believing their own genetic hierarchy is somehow superior. So they decide to start this article off with saying slavery is bad, which obviously, yes, it is very bad. It is something that is real, though, that has happened, and it is something that we as human beings have to accept have again happened in the past. But it says while it's largely abolished in our own society, the act of ruling over a lower class and forcing them to work remains a common trope in the media we consume. Now, I have to say this a lot, but journalists want to be activists, and they are constantly putting out articles like this in order to, push their opinions, make themselves look like they are good people who have these high morals, and they want people to look at them and go, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about. But at the end of the day, the only reason why someone like Jade King is writing for The Gamer isn't really because they care about the gaming industry. They've proven this time and time again, but it's because they can't make it at real political outlets. So they had to basically find an industry to shove their way into, and this happened to be the one. But they decide to now talk about how fantasy especially explores the disgusting careers of slavers and the struggles of those beneath them. But exploring these stories can't help but bring with the real-world parallels as we continue to reconcile with our own history. Final Fantasy XVI made headlines ahead of release for how white it is. The majority of its cast are attractive white men and women with regional British accents. Clive, Jill, and Sid are all seemingly designed to pass as both white and Asian, but all of them are drawn into storylines concerning slavery that continually fail to consider the color of their skin. Producer Yoshi P said that the game aims to be a fairly accurate rendition of classic Western fantasy, which in literature like The Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones is whiter than vanilla ice cream. Such outdated views on the genre are damaging, frequently used by right-leaning creators to justify the bigotry of their own creations, but Final Fantasy is a global hit and it shouldn't take such a narrow view of the world. Now, yes, Final Fantasy XVI does highlight slavery, but it's not about, something like the color of your skin. The slavery that the game shows is the bearers, right? There are these bearers, they have these magical powers, and they happen to be enslaved, and basically they work themselves to death because the more they use their powers, the more it hurts their body. I don't want to spoil too much about the story, but this is what they're mad at. And obviously, slavery is bad. War is bad. Violence is bad. But none of these things are any worse than the other. The only reason why they want, one of them taken out is because of social and economic theories people are trying to push on society and the narratives they're trying to push on entertainment today. They're trying to equate the idea of slavery as something that promotes racism, even though in these instances it doesn't, because these are fictional worlds. These are people that are not real, and I know I don't have to point that out for most of you, but I clearly do for the individuals writing articles like this. We aren't talking about an actual real group of humans that lived and, pretending they're enslaved in a game, just like it's not referring to any real wars or battles that happened. And even if a game did like that, like a historical simulator, should those games not refer to actual historical events? Should movies that take place during a certain time period cease to exist because they have an uncomfortable theme? Of course not, but the main point here is that these are fictional worlds and people. Just because one of them makes someone feel more uncomfortable than the other ones doesn't mean it's any worse or any better, and it shouldn't be part of storytelling, which is what they're trying to say. Of course, it's the, oh, slavery is a lazy trope idea, and that, oh, it's offensive to people and it hurts people. And of course, this argument is not new. People have been saying this for years, that slavery shouldn't be used in entertainment, and one of the most notable is with Pathfinder. This was all the way back in 2019, but it says following the publication of an anonymous open letter asking the publisher to address Pathfinder's slavery problem, Paizo publisher Eric Mona has announced that effective immediately and without any plans to provide an in-game explanation of its disappearance, the concept of slavery would be removed from the game and setting completely, all at the drop of a dime, because some people found it too offensive. I obviously don't support slavery. I don't like slavery, but I'm playing a video game or a tabletop game. I'm consuming content and entertainment, and I can see, oh yeah, wow, it's slavery, that's bad. Like, to erase concepts simply because they make some people feel uncomfortable is ridiculous, but that is what companies are willing to do. Addressed directly to Mona and published on December 13th to the personal blog of veteran Paizo designer and Pathfinder developer Owen Casey Stevens at the author's request, the anonymous letter asserted that the game's fixation on slavery as an institution, as a plot hook, as a fixture in the world of Pathfinder is at times baffling and at times infuriating. And yeah, they decided to remove it. And like I mentioned, Final Fantasy 16 has been under attack over the past few weeks. We had this Eurogamer article go up saying here's why some players plan to boycott Final Fantasy 16, and they did say it was because of the game's lack of diversity. And what, of course, did they refer to? A Reset Era thread where they had a poll where 1,200 people voted and only 40 individuals said that they were planning on specifically boycotting this game. We also just saw this article released from The Verge. Final Fantasy XVI's lack of diverse characters makes a huge world feel small. These people are focused on everything that they believe is wrong with the game, instead of just saying this game is fantastic, but it does lack a little in some areas. No, they are only focusing on the problems with it, like they think it's lack of diversity, the fact that it's blindingly white, all of these different things. Now, of course, slavery. But these individuals, they don't want to be game journalists, they want to be activists, and the gaming industry was easy for them to get into, and now they complain about every little thing in it. They don't want to see the gaming industry get better, they want to destroy it. I do genuinely believe it at this point, which is why I call out so many of these articles. I know a lot of topics I discuss are journalists doing something wrong, and sometimes, yeah, it does get tiring, but it is better to call them out then let them continue to put out, ridiculous articles like this, wanting the removal of things from our video games simply because they find them a little bit too offensive. But yes, now the gamer is calling out Final Fantasy 16, saying it struggles with the topic of slavery. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.